Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. Another episode going into news and prophecy, linking the things that are happening worldwide to the Holy Scriptures. All right, so that the faithful elect, the remnant, can know that the words of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, are faithful and true. All right, as we chant down Babylon the Great, as well as this NWO, New World Order. All right, that these heathen, all right, which it's headed by Babylon the Great, but you also have the NATO and the EU and the various different nations join unto them with their plans to implement an NWO. All right, which is in defiance, all right, to the order the Most High, all right, is planning to establish through his only begotten Son. And we're living in a time of great rebellion where even gender is being mocked at. Okay. The talking point of, there being a male and female is a joke in these times. If you stand on those principles, all right, you can be arrested, you can be mocked, you can be laughed at. To fear the Heavenly Father is looked at as weak and timid. Okay, and things are completely out of order. All right, but the Bible, all right, the truth of the Bible, all right, is standing firm. And the powers that be want to outlaw the Bible, all right, because the Bible, all right, if you look at all of these other philosophies, Egyptology, okay, all of these different religions and philosophies that, parade themselves around as the truth, none of them are speaking here in these end times. You see? The scriptures tells you in the book of Habakkuk, all right, the 2nd chapter. Let's get it real quick. Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. In the 2nd verse, it says, "And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision, all right, and make it plain upon tables. And the prophets of old wrote these visions down, all right, that he may run that read of this, so that in the latter times which we're in, we may read these things, all right, and run to the highways and the byways and to these different platforms to upload videos, breaking these things down." See, and no other philosophy, no other talking point, no other stronghold that has a power in this world is speaking or making any sense, all right, as the Holy Scriptures is, via the prophets, via the volume of the book, all right? For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, it will surely come. It will not tarry. See? And we're living in a time, all right, where all of the visions that the prophets saw, including, all right, the implementation of the charagma or the MOTB, all right, wars, rumors of wars, all of these things are speaking because they are fulfilling what's written in the Holy Scriptures. See? And let's go back here in the book of Matthew 24:14 and said this gospel. As a matter of fact, let's jump to verse 12, Matthew 24:12. "And because iniquity, which is sin, shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold." And we're living in those times where people are going psycho, people are losing their minds. Okay, the natural way has been rooted out, and they've implemented this pseudo, all right, science, this, alternate way of life, which really no one's happy. All right, everybody's dead set on self-destruct. Even people who are rich, those are the most destructive people. All right, people are starving. While you have people with all of the resources, you have people who are starving. Okay, psych meds. Okay, people are absolutely losing their minds out here. And the love of many, which the love is the keeping of the commandments, shall wax cold. And that word cold goes into psycho. See? But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and that's via the internet. All right. Ultimately, our apostles, bishops, elders has labored, but before them you had men laboring since the 60s, going out on the highways and the byways, the 70s, which is a fulfillment of biblical prophecy, 80s, 90s. All right. And in 2007, this word hit the internet, right? And from that point, okay, this word went viral. And that was the starting point of the end of this place, which really the end of this place started when the children of Israel woke up, when Esau, Edom, tried to go, to the moon, acted like he went to the moon, because the pride of his heart deceived him. That marked the beginning of his end. But once this word, all right, goes out to the four corners of the earth, as it says here, this gospel of the kingdom would be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And then shall the end come. So the end, all right, is ultimately accompanied by the gospel, all right, of the kingdom being preached throughout the whole world. And the internet would do the heavy lifting. See? So everybody knowing about the Israelites, everybody talking about the Israelites is an indicator that we are at the very end of this thing. And the Israelites have the truth, all right? Not just any Israelites, the elect of the nation of Israel, which consists of you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, as well as those of you who may not look, all right, like those particular nations, all right, or associate with them. However, you're moved to repent, call on the names of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. You understand that Babylon is America. You understand, all right, the prophecies. You're moved, okay, to ultimately help to build the tabernacle of David, all right, through your actions, changing your mind. Okay, you understand the so-called white man is the biblical Edomite. Okay, you could very well be an Israelite, fulfilling prophecy as well. And the way you look is a result of a scattering, which many of our brothers and sisters who are in this thing, all right, look the way they look because we've been scattered. And the Heavenly Father wanted this awakening, all right, which is the reunion of Judah, all right, the southern kingdom, all right, and Ephraim, the northern kingdom, will be reunited in this word, which is fulfilled in the volume of the book, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. And as I said, no other philosophy is speaking, all right, through all of the scrutiny the Bible has withheld and had to undergo, all right, it's still standing firm, all right, and the haters of it and the mockers, all right, are being confounded and will continuously be confounded, all right, as these things come to pass. Now, again, this is news and prophecy. We're going to go into some things. Some of these things we discussed in the last news and prophecy, but I wanted to go into a few other things. We're going to start here with a video called the NWO. When we say NWO, it's speaking of this term here, which when you look at the back of the dollar bill, all right, as a matter of fact, let's see if we can pull it up. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. There's Latin, which Latin is ultimately the language of the ancient Western Roman Empire, right? But as you can see here, Annuit Conceptus, announcing the conception. As you can see, the all-seeing eye of a Novus Order Seclorum, of a new secular age, of a new order of the world, a new secular order. See, and the new world comes, all right, with the doing away of paper money, amongst various other things that they're doing away with, which determine how the old world was ran. Okay. See if there's something that brings it out here. Okay, there's many symbolisms on the back of this dollar. All right, but the whole time, okay, they've had these plans, okay, to bring about a new, all right, secular order, a new order of the ages, as you see here, right? We always bring this out. Okay, let's see if I can find it here. The Latin phrase, which Latin was what? The language of, all right, the Roman Empire, which again, we're in Rome all over again. The Latin phrase annuit conceptus, meaning he approves of our undertakings, or announcing the conception, all right, above the pyramid of a novus order seclorum, meaning new order of the ages. Okay. Now, let's go back to this particular video I have here, right? Jason A. All right. The NWO has just been announced, or was just announced. All right. Let's turn that up. Check this out.
And likewise, we have to build a new international order. And this is the biggest challenge of our time.
President Biden hoping to burnish his image. Only a few months left for his term, but this image will not be easy. A series of major foreign policy conflicts breaking out during his term. You got Afghanistan in 21, Ukraine in 22, Israel in 23, and a Middle East conflict now on the verge of erupting into a wider regional war.
Emmanuel Macron, President of the French Republic. We all remember your words 2 years ago in Rome.
And how they're going to get there is war, the collapse of economies, the doing away of currencies, paper currencies, physical currency, switching it over to a digital world, and many, many more things that they're going to use as a means to bring about this new world that they want. And John the Revelator saw it, he wrote it down in the vision, and it's speaking in the very end.
Mesdames et messieurs, en vos grades et qualités.
By the way, Japan fired at Russian jets who they say violated their airspace. God, is Japan getting involved in this now? I mean, it truly is worrisome to expect that we could see a World War III here.
So the international order we are following today is a frozen order. It's an unjust order because it is not representative of what reality really is today. So if you want to imagine peace, we have to think about a world order that allows us to face together the challenges of peace, war, development, technology, climate on our planet with no priorities. And this is what we're trying to do with the Pact of Paris for the peoples of the planet. And we have to do that in an order where there's no country that can stop anyone else. A system where all the countries are represented with equal dignity, and we should do that with claims that are fairer. The UN, the IMF, the World Bank, well, they will all contribute to the need to imagine peace.
Peace and safety. See? This NWO, the talking point around it is peace. And we always bring these things out, but you're going to start to see, all right, more and more people who weren't talking about these things talk about these things. But remember who stood firm on these principles and told you these things before they happened. Remember who Yahweh Bashim Yahushua used to stand firm, all right, that these things were coming while we were being called, all right, conspiracy theorists by other Israelite camps. Okay? But y'all better repent. Okay? Now let's switch over to this video here. We'll go back to the other, Lord willing, if the Spirit allows. But and you can look it up as well. Just type in Jason A. Does some pretty good videos. This is off of Redacted. Trump is about to change everything, and this is why they want him. DEAD. Redacted with Clayton Morrison. All right, now they bring out some good information, but they are of the opinion that Trump can fix America. See? And again, we know what the scriptures say. All right? We would have healed Babylon. Okay, let's get that in Jeremiah 51:7. Okay? Jeremiah 51:7 says, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her, take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even unto the sky. So Esau, Edom's judgment is nigh. As the scriptures told you, the joy of the hypocrite. All right. Job 20:4. Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon the earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment? Though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, he's lofty, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? And this is getting ready to be the future of Esau, Edom. All right. But again, before they go down, they're going to go out with great wrath. They're setting up, all right, many, many snares for the people to fall into. All right. They're getting ready to come with the very plan we've been warning you of. All right. Through the Spirit. Check this out.
Trump is about to change everything for the United States if they don't kill him first. And we just got some bombshell news on that front, which we'll get to in a moment. It's pretty shocking. Guys, we're at the ultimate tipping point moment for the United States right now. And we better wake up to what's happening. We are going through the largest fundamental change in the structure of the United States and the US dollar in our history, period. I've got a couple of big news updates to get to today. And these aren't just small stories. They are...
See, they're going to do away with your Constitution. They're going to do away with the dollar. Life as you knew it or know it is getting ready to change drastically. All right, in the coming months and the coming days. All right. And this is why the Lord told us, okay, to ultimately, when it comes to the lust of the flesh, the pride of life, understanding that this isn't our rest. These things are going to be very, very key. Loving not your life unto the death to get through the times that's coming. But the water, Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, that he's already foreordained the elect to have the spirit to get through these things, man. All right. We have to stand firm because this is going to be trying. These are going to be trying times. Okay. The hour of temptation, the charagma, all of that is here. You see what I'm saying? And again, these things are going to be centered around peace, health, all right, safety, all right, and bringing about security. Okay, when you deal with the digital money, when you deal with a charagma, it's all about security. It's all about, all right, bringing about an environment where we can identify everybody. All right, we have to take away the rights of everybody so that we can, get things in order. And when you look up, okay, all out tyranny is going to be shoved down the throats of you people. Again, the scriptures say, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, and the devil has come down unto you, having great wrath, which we'll get that scripture, but check this out.
Are country-changing items that no one is talking about. But first, on the one side, you have a deep state that wants no borders at all in the United States. It wants to control and monitor everything you do, and they want to come to your home if you're a legal gun owner.
And just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible.
Here's what our friend Tucker Carlson just said about Kamala's gun statement. This is openly totalitarian. If we don't resist this, we are done.
Yeah, they're coming after your guns, and that's going to, it's going to be a bloodbath. You ain't taking these Americans' guns. America's the most armed country in the world, pretty much. All right. As far as the citizens, I believe America's the number one armed country. All right. In the world. All right. And right now, as we'll show you, okay, they're trying to go after your constitutional rights.
Earlier this year, Democrat lawmakers introduced a new piece of legislation into Congress that will make it illegal for Americans to form militias.
See, your constitutional rights are all being wiped out. And they're putting the necessary false flag events in place, all right, to justify it. All right. But your right to form a militia, all right, against a wicked government, that's going to be wiped out. Your right to bear arms, that's going to be wiped out. Your right to have freedom of speech, that's going to be wiped out, as we've talked about in previous, news and prophecies. Okay, your constitutional rights. Let's get it real quick. Okay. What are my constitutional rights? List. All right. Bearing arms, courting soldiers, search and seizure. There's another thing that goes more into it. But let's see here. Yeah, freedom of religion, you ain't gonna have that. Freedom of speech, you ain't gonna have that. Freedom of press, freedom of assembly. See? Well, we're gonna show you a few other constitutional rights, which we'll go back to this video. All right. But ultimately, we're here. All right. All out tyranny. Okay. Nimrod on steroids. Let's keep listening. But as you can see, Tucker Carlson said this is totalitarian. All right, that they're saying they can just come in your house and if they know you got a gun and make sure that you're using it properly and you don't pose a threat. And once they set up this social credit score, they'll have the ability and artificial intelligence to be able to search out who's who and what's what. And that charagma will just seal the deal, man. Okay? Just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible. So they're letting you know what they're getting ready to do.
He's absolutely right. And these same nut jobs want a global government run by the United Nations. And the other side wants to return America to what made this country great. Closed borders, self-sustaining by drilling and manufacturing here at home, increasing.
See, you have the nationalist versus globalist agenda. You have the two horns like a lamb, which the nationalist agenda would be the Trump, make America great, constitutional rights, freedom of speech, yada, 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 that rhetoric. Okay? Which really that was for Edomites, all right? But they play it, you know, they have to, you know, the Lord has allowed us to, you know, have particular rights in this system as citizens of America so this word can go out. But, you know, that's all getting ready to be wiped out. But then you have the globalist agenda, which you can see Biden and Kamala Obama represent. But really, the globalist agenda is going to be fulfilled in both of these. These are the two horns like a lamb that are drawing you in to the all-out tyranny, all right, that the scriptures prescribe, talks about, man. Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees. So you're starting to see more shootings. Right? You're starting to see more mass shootings, school shootings. Okay. We seen Trump get shot at so-called 2 times. One when he was at a speech, the other happened, you know, and now you got shots being fired at a Kamala Harris campaign office in Arizona. Okay. All of these things can be means to say we need to bring in more gun control. Gun control. See? Order ap chaos. All right, but let's not get lost. Let's keep listening.
Tariffs so China can't destroy our country with cheap goods by saying Washington will decide how Americans live to return America to what area. If we don't resist this, we are done. He's absolutely right. And these same nut jobs want a global government run by the United Nations. And the other side wants to return America to what made this country great. Closed borders, self-sustaining by drilling and manufacturing here at home, increasing tariffs so China can't destroy our country with cheap goods by saying Washington will decide how Americans live their lives, not the United Nations or some global cabal led by billionaires like Klaus Schwab. Heck, we don't even know who's currently running the United States. Demented President Joe Biden just held his first cabinet meeting in 2024. Yeah, his first cabinet meeting for the entire year. And he immediately turned the meeting over to his wife, Jill, to run the meeting. You can't make this up.
So I'd like to turn it over to Jill and for any comments she has. It's all yours, kid.
Thank you. You know, sometimes the White House
surprising to you?
What? She's not president. This is unconstitutional. What the hell is happening here? This is why the deep state cabal is so worried about President Trump, because they know they can't control him. His plan that he just revealed is to go back to the roots of George Washington's statement about keeping America focused on America. There's a novel idea. George Washington believed in isolationism. The deep state and the liberals have tried to make that a bad word, isolationism. It's not. George Washington believed it deeply, keeping foreign governments out of our business. And guess what? We stay out of other countries' business. We cannot go to Afghanistan and turn it into the United States of America. They don't want it, and neither should we. This is Trump's new plan, and they want to kill him for it. I'll talk more about this plan in a minute, but first, this weekend, we learned that the deep state is actively trying to kill Trump using any means necessary. According to Congressman Matt Gaetz, he's learned that 5 different kill teams are now actively trying to kill the former president.
I'll break a little news for you. I had a senior official from the Department of Homeland Security in my office before the second assassination attempt saying that what he has assessed is that there are 5 known assassination teams in the United States.
So there are 5, I just want to follow up, 5 assassination teams. Are they all targeting Trump? Is it other officials?
Yes. No, I should have been clear about that. 5 teams that we know are targeting Trump.
According to the reports, 3 of the kill teams are said to be foreign, and 2 of them are said to be from right here at home, domestic origin. As ex-CIA agent Michael Scheuer just wrote, quote, "There's no news about who's paying them, facilitating their travel, providing them arms and safe houses. Neither is there information about who is paying for them. First, we must assume," he writes, "that the 2 assassination teams that are domestic groups are simply the creatures of the Democratic Party and or the leadership of the Department of Homeland Security and the Secret Service, which appear to have already taken 3 cracks at killing Trump. In other words, our federal government, the deep state cabal, is yes actively trying to assassinate Trump to stop his election and stop his plan from being implemented. They are terrified. This is an unbelievable moment." Another report on Saturday morning says these assassins are now planning to use surface-to-air missiles to take out Trump's plane.
I am going to repeat my public warning here because of my intel sources that there are surface-to-air missiles in possession of some of these kill teams. I think these maybe even...
I mean, just listen to what's being said here. Never in America has it been this crazy. Just the talking points. Now, we know at the end of the day, the elites, are at the forefront of all of this, but you have to understand, even the elites are at war with one another and don't really agree. It's nothing but confusion, nothing but division, nothing but madness. This is madness. Okay? Trump, they talk about assassinating him, but you also got this.
Also developing overnight, police in Tempe investigating what appears to be shots fired at a Democratic Party campaign office. Bullet holes here in the glass entryway. The office is in a shopping center near Priest and Southern. Fortunately, no one was inside at the time. It's being investigated as a property damage crime, and the Mesa Forensic Unit is assisting. If you have any information, please call.
And again, we know that these things are going to be used to call for peace. Okay? And they're going to come after your guns. Because we need everybody to be brought up on a digital ID system where we can see who's who and what's what you believe. We need your social media, everything to be tied to this digital ID. So we can, get the enemy out and establish peace and bring about a new world. All right. These are just a few ways that they're angles that they're going to go to bring it about. But see, when you look up, all of your rights are going to be gone. But let's go back.
When shoulder fired.
I mean, this all sounds fake, right? It sounds like a Bourne movie or something, but it's not. You have CIA whistleblowers, government sources confirming these reports, and sitting members of the United States Congress telling us what they've learned. So why are they trying to kill Trump? Well, it's very simple. Follow the money.
Let's go to the book of, let's go to 2nd Esdras 15 in the GNT. I don't like the way that one looks. This is that's damn sure not it. Hold up. That ain't it either. Let's just go here. 2nd Esdras 15. Hey, the Lord is getting ready to take this place down, man. But these are the signs and effects associated with the end, man. Let's see here. Second Esdras 15 and 16 in the GNT, there will be great political turmoil with one group trying to overpower another and gain control while ignoring the legitimate government. They're all all civil war is going to break out. Okay, especially once that food shortage comes. We did a video going into, the strike that's going to be of the ports, right? There will no longer be free access to the cities. They're going to have to shut it down because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live. Driven by famine and terrible suffering, people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions. See? And these are the times we're coming into. All right? And, again, these ain't the best thoughts to think about, but they're the right thoughts to think about. It's the reality, and it's coming down the pipe. As it says in the book of, Second Esdras, the 7th chapter. All right? Second Esdras, the 7th chapter, and the 18th verse, it says, nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things. We're going to go through the straight gate and hope for wide. And they that have done wickedly have suffered straight things and shall not see the wide. So either way it goes, we're going to see these things and go through them. And it's going to be fun. All right. Once the Spirit of the Lord starts to, rev up, different miracles, certain sightings, the spiritual happenings happen, man. It's going to numb the pain. We're going to be all right, man. But again, these are the times that are coming down the pipe. We ain't just making these things up. These were all written, all right, because these things have to happen in order for the kingdom of heaven to be set up.
We record this on this Sunday in New York City. The United Nations is meeting to vote on their new plan for all of us. It's called the Pact for the Future. And they've kept it hidden from you, of course. But this new plan by the United Nations would essentially take the power out of our country's hands, place them into a global governing body, the United Nations. Call it UN 2.0 is what they're basically calling it. They'll tell us how to eat. They'll tell us what to eat. They'll tell us how we travel. Oh, your carbon footprint, you traveled too much this month. Sorry, you can't go and visit grandma up in Nantucket.
Didn't we just read? All right. That you won't have free access to the cities. See? They're going to come down with brute force, and you're going to need a carbon footprint to be set up because we're going to have to save the earth from the G-warming agenda. This is the Lord is going to do this. Once we get, man, once the Lord, oh, man, I cannot wait until this devil is stopped. This is absolute madness. The way this system is being ran. This is complete wickedness. See?
How we conduct our finances, controlled by the World Bank and the IMF. This is happening in New York this weekend. I just spoke to investigative journalist Derek Brose, who is at the United Nations as we speak. He says Americans have no idea what's coming.
Of course, this whole thing is a major push towards a global government. They don't like to use those terms. They prefer multilateralism or global governance. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing. It's a more empowered UN to act to compel nations to do whatever they want. And then the other important aspect that we can get into further is the financial aspect. They keep discussing the need for a new Bretton Woods moment. And of course, Bretton Woods is the post-World War II creation of the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank.
It's terrifying. These globalists will stop at nothing. But what they're really scared about is Trump's plan, which I've spent quite a bit of time diving into.
And they ain't scared of no damn Trump's plan. Okay, ultimately what they're scared of is the elect being raised up, which they're going to use certain of Trump's talking points to come at the elect. All right, the whole nationalist mindset. Okay, what Trump stands for, they can use certain of those talking points. All right, in a republic. Okay, to use it to come against him, but to come against us and force this globalist agenda. Again, it's two horns like a lamb, and they speak as a dragon. And the American people have no idea because they're too focused on Diddy, they're too focused on football, they're too focused on bread and circuses, madness. All right, graduating, getting degrees. Jeremiah 49:31. Arise, get you up unto the wealthy nation that dwelleth without care, saith Yahweh, which have neither gates nor bars, man, which dwell alone. See? This devil is so offensive. He's all over the planet Earth doing wickedness that he hasn't worked on his defense. Okay, and this place is wide open. You allowing all of these different. All right, again, you have neither gates nor bars. You're allowing all of these migrants over here. The only thing that can come from the situation that we see being set up in front of us is complete chaos and madness and wickedness. Death. Okay? This is completely out of order. But we're the problem?
And it ends 70 years of the Bretton Woods Agreement. This agreement put in place after World War II. It worked for many years. America would protect all of these countries if they used the US dollar as their reserve currency. America would close down factories and manufacturing in the United States and send those factories to your small country to enrich you. You would be able to build up some nice wealth, but you've got to use the US dollar, right? And we'll provide security. That's exactly the plan. That was the Bretton Woods Agreement. Trump is about to kill all of that. The end of Bretton Woods. Bretton Woods has killed America, and Trump's plan kills it. Remember, Bretton Woods was implemented by a global cabal of millionaires. It wasn't voted on by the American people. It's the exact opposite of what George Washington wanted. And there's been no one around to say enough is enough. This is stupid. We've got to end this. You mean we're going to spend billions to build up Ukraine's military while our military is crumbling? You mean we're going to offshore all of this manufacturing so that Europe and other countries can become economic dynamos while America crumbles? Now Trump is about to drop the hammer with his new plan. This new Trump era is an era when America comes back to life. You take the advantages that you gave up to other countries, manufacturing, AI development, energy production, all of it, and you bring it back to America once again. You may love Trump, you may hate Trump, it doesn't really matter. This plan is the reason they are trying to stop him.
Wise leaders always put the good of their own people and their own country first. The future does not belong to globalists.
It's an end to the globalist agenda, and they are...
And Donald Trump supports the Zionists, the 1948ers. He, you know, again, he talks a good game. You know, I have to get it. Revelation 30, we've been quoting it. Revelation 13:11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. The democratic and republic system are being set up, all right, as the word horns. Karas means what? A mighty, valiant helper, the author of deliverance of the Messiah, a savior, all right? They're setting themselves up as saviors, okay? You got one. All right, they're liberating freaks and I mean complete nastiness. Okay, the liberals. Then you have the conservatives saying we have to make America great again. You have these two talking points clashing. Meanwhile, the elites are seizing all of the riches. They're seizing all of the, what's the word I'm looking for? I just got off. So sometimes it's, you know, we doing these lessons, we cram so much into a little bit. Brothers work, you know, it's all kind of stuff that we got going on in our daily lives. And, you know, then we have to come to bring these videos to you. But the resources of the earth have been hoarded. That's what 2020, the vid situation was all about. It was just a power grab. And right now, you're seeing all kind of information be put out there. You know, these people are getting caught left and right. They know something is getting ready to come down the pipe. Okay, and we'll see. We will see. All right, but the two horns like a lamb are leading you to all-out draconian chaos. All right, and we know Draco goes back to draconian measures. And you remember, all right, at the time of Maccabees, okay, what did they ask the people to do? All right, which democracy comes from, all right, the Greeks. All right, First Maccabees 1:41. Moreover, Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and that, you know, everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion. And this is what they're getting ready to bring about, a new religion, a new way, okay, which is rooted in rebellion and Satanism. So no, Donald Trump is not the savior of America, but he's going to be paraded as the savior of America, along with this guy, all right, right here, Elon Musk, okay? Elon Musk, all right, Neuralink blind sight gets FBA breakthrough device tag. Okay? Or did it mean F, all right, D to the ISA? All right, maybe that's a mistake. All right, but this Neuralink thing, all right, is being, paraded around as a form of salvation, as a form to help people. See, but they have a whole nother plan. And this guy, Elon Musk, is being linked with Trump for a reason. Okay? We'll get to this in a minute, but people with vision issues, all right, people with neurological issues, and this is not medical information, we're just in the news. People with these issues, all right, can be saved on the left-hand side with this salvation, all right, with these devices. Okay?
Are terrified of it. Mark my words. And that's the news update part of today's video. Now I want to talk about today's sponsor, which is tied directly to...
All right, now let's go to this video we had up here. All right, bill to ban citizen militias introduced to Congress. Let's go here real quick. All right, the constitutional right to form a militia. The U.S. Constitutional Second Amendment, all right, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 16, says the state states that a well-regulated military is necessary for a free state security, meaning basically in that the right to keep and bear arms cannot be infringed. All right, and they've been debating and going back and forth on this. But ultimately, you're supposed to have the right to form a militia, all right, or a coup if the government gets out of control. If your government starts to infringe upon your rights and get wicked and starts to, renege on particular things they promise, you would have the right to form a militia. Now, we ain't here, the Israelites, we ain't doing this, all right? But they know that they're getting ready to wage war on the citizens, so they're going to make things that were once, illegal. As a matter of fact, let's get Isaiah 10, right, and 1. Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. These are unrighteous decrees, okay? Let's see if we can get a video on it. Second Amendment. I mean, pretty much this video is going to go into it, but let's you can look it up. You can look it up, but let's watch this first.
Bill, which you can see up on your screen, was introduced to both the House as well as the Senate, and it's officially titled the Preventing Private Paramilitary Activity Act of 2024. Its stated purpose would be to explicitly outlaw the formation of citizen militia groups here in America. And more specifically, according to the text of the bill itself, it will create federal criminal penalties for people who engage in certain activities, including the following: publicly patrolling, drilling, or engaging in harmful or deadly paramilitary techniques, intimidating elected officials, interfering with government proceedings, pretending to be law enforcement, and so on. Now, perhaps ironically, this bill likely had the opposite of the intended effect, at least on the public. Because I know for myself and several people who I spoke to, after hearing about this bill, our first reaction was, can we form private militias? I mean, if they're trying to outlaw the formation of militias, that must mean that it is currently legal to do it, right? Well, after looking into it, the answer is a bit complex, to say the least. And so let's go through the legal framework surrounding militias as a current...
Because you got to remember, they amended a lot of these, rights. They've been amended to add things and gray areas and, snares. And this is what, Trump is supposed to be fighting for, to bring back, all right, your freedoms as an American. But the globalist agenda is saying you need to, all right, throw those, rights away for the greater good because things are not safe. We need peace and safety. So throw away your civil liberties, all right, for the greater global agenda.
Currently stands. What this bill is trying to actually outlaw, as well as the central question of whether you, as an American citizen, can go ahead today and form your own militia. Now, to start with, let's begin at the very foundational document at play, the Second Amendment. For a long time, one of the main arguments circulating online against private gun ownership was that the Second Amendment does not actually give people the right to own guns. The argument typically goes something like this. The Second Amendment doesn't actually allow people to own guns. It only allows the state to own guns in order to form something like a National Guard. Now, the reason for why this view exists is not a mystery. It's because in the modern context, the plain language of the Second Amendment is a little bit confusing. Just for your reference, here's exactly what the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution says. Quote, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And so, it's quite easy to look at the surface of those words and assume that the right to keep and bear arms really does only apply to militias who are in service of defending a state. And in the modern context, that is something like a National Guard. However, that is not in fact true. And to understand why it's not true, we need to do two things. Firstly, we need to smash those like and subscribe buttons so that this video can reach ever more people via the YouTube algorithm. And then secondly, we need to look at a case that was put forth in front of the US Supreme Court back in March of 2008, a case that's called District of Columbia versus Heller. In that particular case, what happened was that the city government of Washington, D.C., they instituted a host of different anti-gun regulations, including making it illegal for a person in D.C. to own a gun unless that person received a license from the chief of police. And the licenses, they could only be issued for 1 year at a time, meaning in a practical sense that you needed to go and renew your license every single year. And so amidst these new regulations, a man who was living in Washington, D.C. named Richard Heller, he went to the chief of police to get a gun license. He was denied, and therefore he filed a lawsuit against the city government, arguing that in the way that they were conducting themselves, they were violating his Second Amendment rights. The case eventually found its way all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Now, why are they trying to ban, you can watch this video. I mean, he goes in some good, you can watch the whole thing, but let's see here. Why are they going to be trying to ban militias? This bill is treason. Anyone who thinks militias can be outlawed is clueless. Communist bill. Everyone that agrees with this bill should be removed from office, period. It's our constitutional right to have militias, and they have no right to try to ban them. Democratic Party fighting against America since 1854. This is exactly what the Constitution was written for. And this is why they're getting ready to do away with your Constitution. The U.S. Constitution restricts the government, not the citizen. And they're getting ready to turn all that around. A government with no ill intent against citizens has nothing to worry about from militias. Well, that's the thing. They're getting ready to wage war on you people. And they're gonna make it illegal for you to have anything to say or do about it. Let's see if we can skip to a point.
You'll still get the same awesome nationwide cover. They had just finished fighting a bloody war. Conservative wireless provider. Either call the number or you can just click on the link right below this video. And furthermore, when you look at it through a historical lens and bear in mind the historical context, well, the true intention of the Second Amendment becomes rather clear. Because the founding fathers of this nation, they did not write the Second Amendment in order to go hunting, like people nowadays imply. They had just finished fighting a bloody war against their own monarch because that monarch had become tyrannical towards them. And after that war concluded, they codified the Second Amendment to the U.S.
And they were warring over the slaves. The right to have, slaves, amongst a few other things. But, remember the South succeeded, you know that history. You can look it up. But again,
Constitution, not so that Americans can go hunting, not even so much that we can protect ourselves from petty criminals, but rather the Second Amendment in the Bill of Rights was put there to protect the citizens of the Republic from their own government if and when that government becomes tyrannical.
And no niggas were in mine, okay? So if your government becomes tyrannical, all right, you would have the right to form a militia against a coup, all right? And that's what the South did.
It was written to give the people of the states the ability to protect themselves, their families, and their communities from a government that might, at some point in time, become a terror to its own people. Now, with that as the actual general backdrop, the next logical question becomes, how do people execute this responsibility? Because if you own a gun, and I own a gun, and Dave owns a gun, and Mike owns a gun, well, that's great, we're all armed, but we are not well regulated. Well, here's where things get a bit, you can say, messy. Back during the time of the founding of this nation, well, there were many militias. In fact, Alexander Hamilton, while he was a student over at Columbia University, he would quite literally spend his mornings drilling with a volunteer student militia before then going off to class. However, after the founding of the country, laws were enacted one after the other, which limited paramilitary activity to be only allowed if the group conducting that activity is subject to the state. For instance, in the late 1800s, there was a law passed over in Illinois which forbade, quote, bodies of men to associate together as military organizations or to drill or parade with arms in cities and towns unless authorized by law. That particular Illinois statute wound up getting challenged. The challenge wound up making all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and in 1886, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that these types of laws, which make citizen military organizations illegal, do not violate the Second Amendment. Then, about 20 years afterwards, something known as the Militia Act of 1903 was passed into law. This piece of legislation, it created the modern framework for the National Guard, which sits now underneath the U.S. Army, and then later also underneath the U.S. Air Force, and it also codified a new definition of militia into the U.S. Code, creating two distinct subclasses. According to Title 10 of the U.S. Code, Chapter 12, subsection 246, the organized militia includes the National Guard and the Naval Militia, while the unorganized militia includes all able-bodied men between the ages of 17 and 45 who are either American citizens or have declared an intention to become an American citizen.
See that?
And so here's exactly where we get to the heart of the matter. The organized militia is the National Guard, while the unorganized militia consists of all able-bodied young men. However, those able-bodied young men are not allowed to do their own thing. That's because at the state level, right now, all 50 states have some form of restrictions, either in their state constitutions or as just statutes on the books that limit private paramilitary activity. Up on your screen right now is a report that came out of Georgetown University titled Prohibiting Private Armies at Public Rallies. And this report, it identifies 4 different types of anti-militia laws that exist throughout the U.S., as well as which particular states have those laws enacted. The first type is a constitutional provision that requires military activity to be governed by civil authorities. 48 states have that provision written into their state constitution. The second is a statute that prohibits private militia activity without the authorization of a state government, which 29 states have on the books. The third is a type of statute that's on the books in 25 states, which criminalizes certain paramilitary activity, such as conducting public drills, as well as demonstrating the use of either firearms or techniques that are capable of causing death. And the fourth type of law is a prohibition on falsely assuming the uniforms or functions of law enforcement. 17 different states have these false assumption statutes on the books. And so, as you can see, all 50 states have at least 2 of these prohibitions. Some states have all 4. And these different laws have the combined effect of making it pretty much illegal for paramilitary groups to do almost anything in public. Although, this is exactly where you begin to brush up against the First Amendment. Because if you think about it, if I'm allowed to own a gun, and my friend Dave is also allowed to own a gun, and Mike is also allowed to own a gun, and we're all allowed to train with our respective firearms, and then, as per the First Amendment, we're all allowed to associate with each other freely, at what exact point does our association and exercise of our rights cross the line into illegal paramilitary activity? For instance, what if we go into the woods to practice shooting? Or what if we form something like a volunteer search and rescue group and we all carry guns for defense against bears and coyotes? Or perhaps even more pertinent, what if me and my buddies all happen to live in an open carry state and we all want to go to a protest and we all happen to bring our rifles? Does all that fall under the purview of these laws? Because each one of those things is a legal activity.
See, Esau Edom is getting ready to fall in a snare that he, this is Proverbs 26 and 27. Whoso diggeth the pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth the stone, it will return upon him. He that diggeth the pit, Ecclesiastes 10 and 8, shall fall into it, and whoso breaketh a hedge, a serpent will bite him. Okay? And many of our people are getting ready to be bit by that serpent, but ultimately Esau is getting ready to fall, okay, into the pit that he digged. All right, and again, let's see here. Psalm 7 and 15, he made a pit, he digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down upon his pate. See? Now, let's go back, because there's a point in this video. Let's look at some of the comments here as well. People really falling for this Trump madness, but there's a point in this video where he's going to talk about militia groups, and let's just look who he brings to the forefront.
At what specific point does it cross the line and become illegal paramilitary activity? Well, to answer some of those questions, Congress recently held a meeting. Specifically, after several events, after the alleged kidnapping plot against Governor Gretchen Whitmer, after the shooting deaths over in Kenosha, Wisconsin with Kyle Rittenhouse, as well as after what took place on January 6th, all these events, they
all, in my opinion, black swan, FFs, false flizzags.
You can say reignited the efforts of those on the political left to crack down on militia groups that they claim are instigating violence and suppressing people's rights. And along that line, the House Subcommittee on Civil Rights and Civil Liberties, they held a meeting to, quote, examine the role of militia groups in the current rise of right-wing extremism.
And through the years, who's been the most, who's been the biggest threat, and the biggest domestic terrorist is these people, these white supremacist militia groups. And now they're merging you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans into that. See, there's a big snare they're laying. But again, it's going to lead to what we were reading. That people are going to start ignoring, their kings and their leaders. And they're going to fight to gain control to get America back. So hell is coming down the pipe, man. Okay, these Edomites are getting ready to take it to the streets. Generation Z, all of them, man.
This congressional meeting was held in May of 2021. It was led by Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin, and it was conducted under the banner of several different meetings that are confronting violent white supremacy, something that the DHS claims is the biggest domestic threat currently facing U.S. security.
And they all of a sudden start talking about, banning, white supremacist groups and this and that, right? All of a sudden, they just, that was a big, something they wanted to tackle. Even Trump, white supremacy is the biggest threat. All right, but synonymously, they're saying that black supremacist groups as well are a problem. See? Which Jake ain't going out and don't have a history of forming coups and taking guns and using their racial superiority to destroy people. Esau does that. See, but they're able to put you all on the same playing field, and again, bring laws and unrighteous decrees surrounding it, and everybody gets destroyed. That's their plan, one of their plans. They got so much going on, man.
And during this meeting, you had Miss Mary McCord, who was both a former federal prosecutor as well as the woman who was behind this report right here, which detailed the anti-militia laws throughout the U.S. And here's what she said regarding the legal framework that's currently in place in the U.S. in respect to militias. And for your reference, I'm going to speed up the clip just a little bit so that we can get through it faster.
Unfortunately, there is a widespread misunderstanding that private militias are constitutionally protected. But private militias are not authorized by federal or state law, they are not protected by the Second Amendment, and they are unlawful in all 50 states. First, since before the founding, well-regulated has always meant regulated by the government. Historically, the militia consisted of all able-bodied men who could be called forth by the governor when needed and were answerable to the governor. The well-regulation of the militia was baked into the U.S. Constitution, which gives Congress the power to organize, arm, and discipline the militia, a power it exercised by authorizing the state militias answerable to state governments. And it was baked into the constitutions of nearly every state, which required that the military always be strictly subordinate to and governed by the civil authority. Second, the Supreme Court has been clear since 1886 that the Second Amendment does not protect private militias and that states must be able to ban them as necessary to the public peace, safety, and good order. The Supreme Court reiterated this in 2008 in District of Columbia versus Heller, which held for the first time that the Second Amendment protects an individual right to bear arms for self-defense. Justice Antonin Scalia, writing for the majority, pointedly contrasted that individual right with paramilitary activity, restating that the Second Amendment does not prevent the prohibition of private paramilitary organizations. And third, all 50 states prohibit private militias, whether through their state constitutions or other state laws.
However, despite that fact, there are well over 100 militia groups currently active throughout the U.S. doing everything from patrolling the streets during protests, to marching in the streets themselves, to trying to keep businesses safe during riots, to even going down to the U.S. southern border and helping Border Patrol to stop illegal migrants from being able to pass through. There's even a large all-black militia group currently active that has a stated purpose of creating their own state within a state.
Appearing by the hundreds at protests from Stone Mountain, Georgia to Louisville, Kentucky, demanding justice for police killings and countering what they believe is the threat of right-wing militias. It's a movement started in 2017 by this man, former musician and Army veteran John Grandmaster J.
Who's an agent who was set up, and we warned you of him. We called him out. For those of you who are new, this dude is a complete agent, all right, who just came out of nowhere, all right. But when you tap into him, all right, he just comes, and you know, these particular characters, they just come and disappear, all right. Supposedly he was, you know, arrested, but he has an Israelite twist. He goes into the Egyptian madness, all right, but he calls on Yahweh. You know, he has an Israelite twist to his whole little doctrine. Very interesting that this guy was brought up, all right, in this video of all of the militia groups. Okay? Grandmaster J is his name. A complete joke. Okay?
Johnson.
What makes us so different is that our goal is our own government, our own country, a place where we can determine our own future.
Is violence an option to reach your goals?
The United States was built on violence being an option. Violence should be the last option.
And notice something. These militias are operating out in the open.
And if if you've been looking, you have this thing with the Moors. All right, the Moors, right? Let's see if I can pull that up. This particular party called the Moors. I mean, the Moors, a bunch of Jakes. The more, they're trying to link them to being linked to with Russia and being enemies, domestic terrorists. Let's see. We want our own nation, the rise of the Moors. Starting to see more and more of them, but there's a particular party within that they're investigating. Now, I forget the name of it, but there's this particular section of the Moors who I don't want to click on Vice because they be tripping, but okay. I forget, I have to look it up. But there's this particular group, The Rise of the Moors. It's one particular group. Recently, they've been under investigation. Maybe this one.
Our own
which this is, fair use. But you got a lot. It's a lot going on, man. Okay. Moorish nationalism, yada yada yada. But it's a lot going on. But very interesting that they bring this guy Grandmaster J, all right, into fruition. Okay. Grandmaster J professes to be an Israelite but rocks Egyptian symbols. See that? The NFAC, the not fucking around crew. But supposedly he was sentenced. I don't know the end result of him. Oh boy. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, they've systematically been able to link black militia groups to white supremacist groups who really go out and harm. See, this is it's a lot of witchcraft going on.
They are giving interviews to the media, and very often at events, they are marching right alongside the police. And this is happening because despite the myriad of laws on the books throughout all 50 states, well, these laws are very rarely enforced. And there's a number of reasons for why that is. And here's, again, Miss Mary McCord speaking to Congress, describing some of them.
These state laws are rarely enforced. They're not well known to local law enforcement.
Anyway, problem, reaction, solution, man. Okay, I wanted to bring out some more things, but I'm gonna, leave it there. There's another one. Tyranny wins. All right, Durov Caves deploys AI to comb Telegram users for illegal content. Following his recent arrest in France, Telegram CEO Pavel Durov seems to be changing his tune as authorities close in on silencing him and his encrypted messaging platform for free speech violations. So they're coming down with the hammer. You can read more up on that. We're gonna leave it there because I gotta get going. But we'll be back with more. Hopefully, I'll edify. Shalom.